August. This is Lucas, and this is Jacob. And we are here, we're going to walk you through how to make kale chips. All right, so we're going to be walking you through how to make kale chips. The great thing about this kale is it is from our school garden. All right, so here it is. I'm not gonna lie, we actually made kale chips last week, and it went really, really well until it didn't go well. I was following the recipe, and the kale chips were tasting great, and then I thought, if I just put it in the oven for a little bit longer, it'll be even crispier, and it'll be wonderful. Except that got a little distracted, left it in a little bit too long, and it did not really need any more time. So we ended up with mostly charred black kale chips, and they're just not as tasty as the green variety. All right, so don't make the mistake. Try to follow along with the instructions. I'll give you the link to the recipe that we are following. All right, so later on, so look for that link later on if you would like to follow along with these step-by-step type instructions. All right, so what we have here is curly kale grown in our very own garden, and these were donated as small little tiny plants by Burpee through our contact Mr. Kelly at Ace of Gray. So I want to give a shout out to them. They are always very supportive in our school garden pursuits. All right, the other thing that you're going to need today are some amazing helpers. So I've got Lucas and I've got Jacob, and you're going to need some olive oil later on, and some sea salt. If you don't have sea salt, regular salt works. This is just a little bit flakier, so it goes on a little bit more evenly than the regular granulated salt. All right, so the first thing you're going to do is you're going to grab the kale off of the stalk. So we're going to pull that, and then we're going to take the little green leaves and peel those off. All right, we haven't rinsed these yet because we'll do that afterwards. So we have our colander that we're going to put the green leaves into, and then we'll rinse those. Put our hands over them anyway. Of course, we did wash our hands before doing this activity, and we all put on aprons. I pulled my hair back, so we're making sure we're being safe and clean in the kitchen. All right, so here, you take that one, Lucas. We're pulling off the stalks, and then once again, we are pulling the leaf.
Can I peel this off?
Mm-hmm. And we're pulling the leaf, and we're gonna put that in the colander, and we'll put the stems in this bin right here. So the leaves go in here, and the stems go over here, okay? So there's not a real science to it. It's just try to get the thicker stem part off of it, because the thicker stem part's not gonna bake very well, okay? So that's not gonna bake very well at all. So you put the stem over here and the green leaves in the colander to be rinsed well. All right, while we're doing this, I do want to say I know I had some kids, especially one particular student who was very obsessed with the curly kale, and I felt like I always had to keep an eye on them, make sure they weren't taking it and stealing it before it was ready. Now we have all the curly kales ready. In fact, we need to go get the rest of it out of the garden because it is a winter vegetable and it's gotten way too warm for it here lately. In fact, I'm going to go check it out later on and see exactly how the curly kale is doing, because I'm hoping it's still okay. What we didn't pick, I hope, is still okay and still we'll be able to use it. Here you go, bud. All right, so a little note too, we weren't sure completely if the curly kale would work for kale chips, but I found out before I burned it to smithereens last week that it works just fine. So, and it really had a really great flavor before I burned it to smithereens. I put the stems over here. All right. We have a lot of work to do, so we'll see you again in just a little bit. Removed all of the kale leaves from the stems. Now I did find that there are people who can purpose this with other recipes. What we're going to do is we're going to take it, when we go to the garden today, we're going to put it in the compost pile. Now, we haven't really set up a great compost pile, but we're going to put it in where we place all of our scraps from the garden. And that way it will kind of be useful once again at some point in time. All right, so we have our colander right here. And the kids did a great job of pulling all of the leaves off of the kale. So we're going to go rinse this and be right back. All right, so now that we have rinsed out the kale, we did dry it a little bit. The recipe says you don't have to, but I just feel like it's a little bit better if it's not soggy or wet when we start this next step. So the next step of the process is we're going to take the kale leaves and we're going to massage them with some olive oil. This is extra virgin olive oil, and whatever variety you have should work. So we're going to take that, we're going to kind of get it all over our hands, massage it on the leaves, and then put that into this bowl, okay? So not really too much science to it, just kind of coat my hands with it a little bit, like that. Kind of get it rubbed, grab, kind of a handful at a time, and just kind of massage it in there. Okay.
Can I help?
Mm-hmm. Use your hands. Put your hands over the bowl. Okay. Of course, we have washed all of our hands. Plus, these are going to be baked, so that is also good. When the olive oil kind of goes to the bottom of the bowl, I'll take some of the kale and just kind of rub that in there too, so it's not being wasted. Okay. So I'm not saying you have to get every single little leaf and like massage it, but kind of just a handful at a time. Get all the oil in there, and that should be good enough, especially if you coated your hands. Do you want to get some olive oil in your hands? All right, so Jacob is not feeling that part of this task. Oh, found a little bit too much of a stem here too. I'll remove that. Oh, hold on, buddy.
What?
Slow down. Let's get all this. Rub that at the bottom. That way it gets a lot more oil on it. There we go. All right, so massaging the kale is the least we can do before eating it, you know. It's gonna be tasty. We actually already sampled it raw. Kale is a superfood, and put up an infographic or showing all the different benefits kale has. It's, of course, it's got a lot of fiber. Hold on, buddy. It's got a lot of fiber.
Can I drop it?
And a lot of different, hold on, buddy.
Can I drop it?
Right here. There you go. Now, massage.
Can I drop it?
Once you've rubbed it in there, yes. It's got a lot of vitamins and a lot of minerals, so it's a very good food for you. It's a superfood for a reason. Especially the past decade or so, nutritionists have gone to a lot of trouble to improve the quality of the food that we're eating. So we know that vegetables are great. Vegetables are wonderful. Eating vegetables, good thing to do. But we know that certain vegetables are healthier for you than others. Okay, so a lot of people were saying for a while that iceberg lettuce is not good for you. Well, that's not true. It's just not as healthy as kale, because this is a superfood and it has more fiber, vitamins, and minerals to it. So I'm not saying vegetables are bad for you. It's just we know the quality and what's in a lot of the vegetables makes a difference as far as what is a superfood or not a superfood. So just keep that in mind. So vegetables are good for you. Some are considered superfoods for a reason. All right, hold on. I'm gonna have to go back and make sure that we have enough oil on all of these. Hold on, bud. Here, let me see your hands. All right, now, dig, massage, dig, massage.
Digging. I'm getting some more sugar. Need some more glue.
All right, so we're almost done with this process. Trying to catch the oil that went to the bottom of the bowl by kind of just grabbing this and kind of rubbing it into it. As you can see, there's not too much of a science to this, and helpers of any age can do a great job. All right. Well, at this point, I might have added too much oil, but we'll see. The goal today is to not create charcoaled kale chips like we did last week. I mean, before I did that, they tasted really good. In fact, this one right here, really enjoyed the kale, didn't you? Yeah?
Well, I didn't like them, but when I taste them, I did.
Yes, he didn't like them at first, but when he tasted him, he did. To sprinkle just lightly with sea salt. You can always add more if you need it. Just from past experience, we know over-salting things can really ruin it. So just a little light sprinkle. I was actually told before we burned the kale to smithereens last week that some of them didn't have enough salt. So I said you can always add more. But taking away, we know, is really difficult, so.
Can I eat one?
Yeah, go ahead.
Can I eat some?
Yeah, take one and eat one for now. We've been kind of tasting it a little bit on the way as we have, well, you took a really big one, didn't you? He's gonna be chewing on that one a while. Okay, so what the recipe says to do at this point is turn on the oven to 300. So don't preheat and then put it in there. It starts cooking at that low temperature, and as it heats up, it cooks it. Then once you hear that your oven is preheated, you're going to let it cook 5 more minutes. So once you hear the little beep that your oven is preheated, you'll cook it for 5 more minutes, and then you're gonna turn the oven off and still leave it sitting in there. Okay, so that's what you're gonna do. All right, so while that bakes, I'm actually still waiting for the oven to indicate that it has been preheated. So while we're waiting on that, I thought I would just talk to you guys about how wonderful the school garden has been and how enthusiastic the kids have been. We of course had gardening representatives Tuesday and Thursday mornings, weather permitting. And we go outside, and the kids have been really, really wonderful in weeding and harvesting and finding bugs and caterpillars and all sorts of other things. It's led to great discussions about bees and pollen and weeds and the difference between a winter garden and a summer garden. And then the other thing is that the kids really get excited about the food that comes out of the garden. Even for this activity, when kids are engaged in gardening activities and cooking activities, they're more likely to eat the food if they help grow it and they help prepare it. So since we all are at home right now and told to stay at home, it's been a really great opportunity for a lot of people to cook together. I know a lot of people are still working. Oh, there's the beep. So we're gonna go ahead and start the timer for 5 minutes. I know that some people are still working really hard, our medical staff, of course, working really hard, and those other very essential services out there, and we appreciate all that you guys are doing. For us, we of course have spent a lot of time on, is it on 5? Yeah. Okay. We have spent a lot of time on education, homeschooling these kids, and then for us making sure that we're providing the activities and resources for our kids so they can continue learning even when we're not in the school building. So I said those gardening activities, the cooking, right now we can focus on the cooking, and cooking together really makes the kids want to eat the food more because they had a hand in it. Let me show your hands. All right, so our timer is going off, and so we're going to just let that close the oven back and then let that kind of cool down. We're going to turn the oven off at this point.